Morning everyone, very quick video today because I'm running late as per usual. This feels a little bit mad because of my blog and book account, and because I sometimes do things in conjunction with Book Break, like I read their arcs and stuff. Today, thanks to Book Break and Black Crow Press, I'm going to go and have tea and cake with Cassandra Clare. What? They invited me to have tea and cake with her at Comic-Con with a bunch of other people who have also been invited, and get some books signed and just hear what she has to say. I can't get my head around that. This is the biggest thing I've ever been invited to since starting my blog, and it's probably the biggest thing I've ever had to do on my own since tackling my own anxiety about going to places like this. So big day on both fronts for me, and I'm taking you along with me. I'm so glad I got up so early this morning now. That was so stressful. I woke up and because of the amount of rain we had last night, my train was cancelled. The one before that train was cancelled. So I literally got downstairs and got to the station in like 8 minutes to get the next train. I made it 2 minutes to spare. It is a really slow train, but it does still get me in on time because of how early I'm going. So all I can say is thank God for me getting up so early, because if I'd have pushed my time limit, I would not be going now. Because they've said strictly no late admittance, so great. I didn't film too much at Comic-Con, so let's do a little recap now that I'm home. So the brunch was really lovely. We all went in, we all got given a goodie bag, which I'm going to open in a minute. We were all sat down with some brunch with some really nice pastries and tea and coffee. And then Cassandra Clare did a question and answer session with the author of Shanghai Immortal, whose name I have literally just this second forgotten. And some of the questions were really interesting. Cassandra Clare's answers were really interesting. She spoke a bit about her world building and her character building and which comes first when writing a book, and actually how one really affects the other. She wrote about her inspirations and the research she took into different places about writing this book. I got really excited to hear that she used Istanbul as a really pivotal research place for the inspiration behind Swordcatcher, because obviously with my dad being Turkish, having a city in Turkey be researched for a Cassandra Clare book is really cool. So I love talking to her about that. She spoke a bit about kind of how the romance in her books works, and how she writes that. So yeah, it was really interesting to hear her thoughts on her writing process. And I'll insert some clips now of some of her answers to some of the questions.
Catcher, my first adult book, first high fantasy, takes place entirely in a sort of invented secondary world called Castellane. And it is about two different characters. One is a young woman named Lynn, who is a physician. She is sort of a doctor to the people of Castellane, and she has a best friend who is suffering from a mysterious sickness that she can't cure. And so in order to try to find a way to cure Mariam, she starts to seek out forbidden magic. Then there's also the sword catcher of the title, a young man named Kel, and he is kidnapped from his orphanage home when he's 10 years old and brought to the palace, where he is pressed into service as the sword catcher, who is the body double for the prince of the city, meaning that, you know, he's trained to talk like Connor, who is right behind me for some reason. This is the prince. So Kel is his body double, and he is made to look like him, taught to walk like him, talk like him, act like him, and he goes out into public as Connor when there's a speech to be made or some kind of public appearance where there's the danger of assassination, and Kel is the person who is basically putting himself out there for the risk of being killed in Connor's place. And this is the job that he has at the beginning of the book, and they are both sort of pulled into a world of debauchery and mystery and murder and intrigue, and yes, I hope you will enjoy it. I came across this story of the body double and started doing research into body doubles, and I realized this story belongs in this world that I thought of a really long time ago. And so once those two things sort of snapped together, then that became sword catcher. And so the way that the magic works in this world, there was once this very powerful magic, and it was activated by a specific word. That word is now gone. In destroying all magic, that word was erased from the world. It no longer exists, and without that word, people can't do the kind of magic that they used to do, you know, appending whole ranges of mountains and whatnot. So what's left is what the Ashkar have, and it's these talismans that have words and numbers on them, and this is based on sort of Jewish folklore and mysticism, because in our culture there is this idea that every word in the Hebrew alphabet has a value and a number, and those numbers have a mystical quality. So the thing that's the best known probably is that Chai, which is the word for life, is 18. So if you add up those letters, you get the number 18, and that has this mystical quality of, for instance, you know, when we get gifts from our parents or grandparents, it's often something in the number of 18, or it will be a check for $18, or a donation in the multiple of 18, because what you're doing with that is you're reiterating the power of life. And so I thought, well, really interesting and that's called gematria. That's the sort of the system of how letters and numbers have this magical quality. And so that's sort of the system that I ported over here, where it's called gematria, and people create these complicated combinations of numbers and letters in order to get spells and talismans that actually work. Yes, there is romance. I think a lot of people also automatically sort of think, and I understand why, that Kel and Lynn have a romance, because, you know, they're the main two characters, but they don't. Spoiler. So Kel kisses everybody in this book. It's very hard to actually figure out what direction he might be going with his romance. So he buys some poison from a guy and he kisses that guy. And there's a girl that he's had a crush on since he was a child, basically since he first came to the palace, and he's clearly interested in her, but which way he might jump, I think, is a little bit mysterious. So that's Kel's romance is a little bit difficult to pin down, but definitely there is a relationship between him and this girl named Antoinette Elaine, who is the daughter of the Silk Charter. And when they were kids, they were really close. He had this big crush on her. I think he even proposed to her at one point, and then her mother came down on him like a ton of bricks and was like, "You are nothing, you are nobody, you're never gonna, you know, stay away from my daughter." And so he hasn't spoken to her at the beginning of the book in something like 10 years, and then, you know, various events conspire to reconnect them. And Antoinette turns out to be a lot more than he initially assumes that she is. And then for Lynn hates Prince Connor. She hates him. She hasn't even really met him, but she hates his guts because she feels like he has taken her grandfather and her family away from her, because her grandfather is her parents are dead, and her grandfather, who should have raised her, basically put her into an orphanage in the Salt, because he was like, I am the advisor to the royal family, and someone from the Ashkar people needs to be in the palace to be reminding them constantly, you know, of our humanity, that we're people, that, that we need to be regarded as human. And so he believes that's his main duty, and so she thinks he's failed in his duty to his family, and she blames the royal family for that. So the first time she goes up to the palace, she actually meets Connor. She dislikes him for quite some time, but, you know, and he seems to dislike her as well, but as often happens in these things where people seem to really dislike each other, they also have other very more powerful and complicated feelings for each other. And Connor also just keeps screwing up. He keeps trying to do nice things for her, and all of those nice things rebound over time. So the nicer he tries to beat her, the more angry she gets.
Then after the question and answer session, the audience were asked to ask any questions they fancied. I didn't actually have any questions. My head just kind of went to overdrive, like, oh my god, that's Cassandra Clare. But some of the other questions that were asked were really interesting as well. Hello, it is Editing Layla again. So I was editing this video and I saw some clips that I filmed for my TikTok of this event as well. The TikTok is majority of the same footage, but there's 2 questions that she answered that I filmed exclusively for TikTok. But then I thought not everyone is going to watch TikTok or is going to want to watch my TikTok, so I put those answers to those questions in this video as well. But if suddenly the orientation changes and my filming goes from landscape to portrait and it looks really funny, that is why. So these are the TikTok clips for you as well, for those questions too.
In an ideal world, Swordcatcher would be 4 books, and I know how it's planned out, I know how it's supposed to end, so I'm hoping, you know, I'll get to write all of the books and all of that stuff will happen. I'm excited about it. For me, stories tend to start with the characters. Like, I'll usually have the idea of who the main characters are, and then the characters that surround them and the relationships they have with each other before I know almost anything else. And I do think that was one of the big transitional things between Shadowhunters and Swordcatcher, was that I was coming up with these characters, but at the same time, I was trying to figure out the world. So definitely the characters went through a lot of changes in the beginning, because I thought, okay, they weren't, this is this character, they have these characteristics, and then sort of the world around them I would figure out would alter or change in some way. And I think characters do change a lot. Kel changed a lot. In the beginning, he had parents, he had a family, and then he was taken away from his family and brought to the palace, and then I thought he's gonna spend the rest of the book looking for his family. He can't have a family. Like, they just stole it from his parents. What are his parents gonna do? Just keep, hanging out in the city being like, I'm sure he's fine. So I had to go back again and get rid of them and start all over again with an orphanage, and then figure out what kind of orphanage it was and all of that. So there's a lot of sort of like, you start with the character and then you realize, oh, this one thing about them, it doesn't work, it doesn't make sense. Connor had a younger brother. For the first draft of the book, and then I realized that their relationship just duplicated the relationship he had with Kel. Kel's basically his brother, and that if he had also another brother, that other brother was extraneous, and so I had to go back and I was like, I'm sorry, buddy, maybe you'll be in a different book. I've excited you, you're no longer here. So I feel like that, but there's a lot of sort of that kind of thing where you're sort of carving the book into the shape it's eventually going to be, but you have to cut out, pieces and add pieces as you go. So in Swordcatcher, he's saying, sexuality is very fluid and anyone can be with anyone, as evinced by Kel, kissing literally everybody he comes across. Yeah, he's bisexual, Connor's, probably I would say pansexual, Connor's pansexual, lots and lots of the nobles are, almost everybody is, basically. I was very conscious, which is why the first time we really see Connor as an adult, his counselors are trying to argue him into getting married, and they have this big book of like all of the marriageable royalty from across the continent, and it's a mix. There's some ladies, there's some men, and there's no particular indication that it would be any different if he picked a princess or picked a prince. They just want him to pick somebody. And there's a prince he's considering, but he eventually rejects him, not because he's a man, but because he's too tall, and Connor doesn't want to be the short one in the relationship. So that was conscious, just because I thought, okay, this is a world, and I'm going to deal with prejudice and oppression in this world in the sense of the way that people treat the Ashkar, but they don't have to have the exact prejudices that map onto ours. Like, why should they? So I thought, why not have this world where, there is absolutely no judgment regarding sexuality whatsoever, and it's just considered to be a complete neutral.
And then it was time for the signing. We were allowed to get 3 books signed, 1 personalised, 2 signed. I took Clockwork Angel because, goodness me, I love the Infernal Devices. I took City of Bones because that is the book that kickstarted me into loving Cassandra Clare's writing so much. And I took my Swordcatcher book as well because you got to do it, haven't you? And she personalised my copy of Clockwork Angel for me. So this is my copy of City of Bones. It's a really old copy. I'm not a huge fan of the cover, but it's so sentimental because it's the first book of hers I read that I will never get rid of it. This right here is my copy of Swordcatcher, which she signed. And this is my very special signed and personalised copy of Clockwork Angel, which says, "For Layla." And I love it so much. When I went up to her at the signing, it was really lovely. I got to talk to her saying whatever I wanted. So I thanked her for writing books that really kickstarted my love of fantasy. I enjoyed fantasy, but I truly do think it's because of this incredible world that Cassandra Clare fleshed out, because of City of Bones, that I fell headfirst into becoming a fantasy girly. So I thanked her for that, and I said that these are the books I grew up with reading, and it's just amazing to see her universe grow with every book and to fall completely in love with her characters. And then I mentioned my Turkish heritage and how much it means to me that she researched Istanbul for Swordcatcher. So we had a nice chat about how amazing Istanbul is as a city, how much history and culture it has, and how much it's affected other countries and cultures, and how we have a lot in today's world owed to people from Istanbul that's just been passed down through generations, and how interesting that is that some of today's practices and cultures were set by them in Istanbul many hundreds of years ago. And it was a really interesting conversation, really insightful chat, and you can tell she's really passionate about her writing and about the work that goes into it, and you can tell she's really appreciative and grateful for her fans as well, which meant a lot to me. I got another goodie bag, which I'll also open in a minute, and then I was free to just explore the rest of Comic-Con, which was really cool. I went to Holly Jackson's signing because she was there, and I was like, whoa, I want to meet Holly Jackson. She's amazing, and she wrote Good Girl's Guide to Murder, so why wouldn't I meet her? So I went to the Holly Jackson signing, and she was super duper lovely as well. She signed my copy of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, my first copy that I ever read, which is this one here, and in there she has written, "To Layla, love Holly Jackson," and she had a little comment. She wrote the name To Layla, and I've not read the second book yet. Yes, I know, I will. I've not read the second book yet. And she was like, "Oh, Layla, have you read the second book?" I was like, "Not yet." She was like, "There's a character in it called Layla, but she spells it different." I said, "Oh, my name is spelled the Turkish way, because my way is the Turkish way of spelling it." And she went, "Oh, well, that's amazing. Maybe we should reprint the whole of the second book just with that spelling." And I was like, "Yeah, we absolutely should." And she was like, "It might be a bit expensive though." So I was like, "Yeah, fair enough." And I was just saying how I love how her characters are just unhinged and amazing and iconic, and we support not only women's rights but women's wrongs, as we should, especially because I know what happens in the third book. I spoiled it for myself because I wanted to know why everyone kept on saying Pip is women's wrongs, and I love it. So don't do that, friends, don't spoil it for yourself, but I'm very excited to read it. Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about how we support women's rights, women's wrongs, and unhinged characters, and I love it. And I said that for the TV show, the characters feel like they've stepped straight out of the pages of the book. And actually, Holly Jackson told me herself that she shook the book really hard until the characters fell out, because they couldn't find the appropriate cast, you see. So they just shook the book really hard and the characters fell out of it. And that is where you get your cast from, guys. That is official news from Holly Jackson herself. So we had a nice little chat about that, and she was, again, so lovely. It was really lovely of her to take so much time with everyone she spoke to, even though she had a really long queue. And again, you can just tell she's really grateful and appreciative for her readers, and that just means a lot to me as a reader, because although I got to go to this event as a creator, we all got into creating about books, like writing, blogging, videoing, TikToking, whatever. We all got into this about books because we love books. So as a reader, it means a lot to me when authors appreciate their readers. Obviously, like, she could tell me to go away and I'd be like, yes ma'am, because it's Holly Jackson. But you know what I mean? Like, it's always nice when you as a reader feel like your support is appreciated by them. Yes, I really felt that with both Cassandra Clare and Holly Jackson today, which was really lovely. And then I spent the rest of the con just kind of wandering around, just seeing what's going on. The cosplays were insane. My lovely friends over at Parabolic Theatre had their own little stall where they were promoting their show Bridge Command, which is where you can literally fly a spaceship, and it is as cool as it making it sound. I promise. You literally sit down and control the spaceship and affect the outcome of the show. It's so cool. I'm going to put a link to that in the description because I love it so much. So yeah, it was really amazing to see how much that show has grown since pre-pandemic to now. So I went along and saw what they were up to, said hello, had a lovely reunion because I've not seen them in years. And then I spent some time with my other friends who were just at the Comic-Con as guests and just wandering around and seeing all the fun that was to be had. One thing I did find about Comic-Con is it made me really emotional because it's such a safe space for everyone, and it's so welcoming for everyone. Like, no one doesn't fit in. There's a place for everyone there, and everyone is accepted as they are. You want to dress up in the weirdest and wackiest cosplay possible? Absolutely do that. You are XYZ, that is okay. You like that, you don't like that. Like, there's not anywhere that anyone's left to feel abandoned or alone or unwelcome. Like, the whole place just felt so accepting and welcoming, and I thought that was the most beautiful feeling, and I've never experienced it on quite that scale before. So I did feel quite emotional, and that was my first time ever going to Comic-Con because all I've done until this point is go to the literature convention. So yeah, it was a really, really lovely surprise to feel so welcomed there. I was really anxious about going because this is the biggest kind of event I've gone to on my own ever, and so tackling my anxiety there I thought was going to be a real challenge, but actually I felt like really safe and comforted there, knowing that if I had any issues, pretty much anyone would be down to help me because everyone was so friendly and lovely. So yeah, really, 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 really fantastic environment, fantastic atmosphere, fantastic day. I had a lovely, lovely time. And now Should we open the goodie bags? I've not even opened them yet, so I don't even know what's inside them. First one I was given was this red sword catcher bag. I did lie to you, I did open this one because I got curious, but this one is a red sword catcher bag. Inside we have got a little sword catcher pin. I think this is beautiful. I don't know how well you can see that, that's better. Look at that gorgeous golden red shininess. How pretty is that? So yeah, that was in that red bag, along with, we've got a lovely sword catcher bookmark, which is all nice and gold foiling. We've got 2 character cards from the book. And again, these are lovely. I love these illustrations. They are so beautiful. So that was in this bag here. The next one, I already love this bag. I've been after one of these bags for ages, but you literally cannot buy them. They have to be given to you at events, I think, because I literally have not seen one anywhere. It's not hugely exciting, but it is to me. Like, for me, this is like Christmas. It's a Fairy Loot bag. As you know, I get the Fairy Loot combo box of the young adult book and adult book. I love Fairy Loot. I think they're brilliant. And some of the stuff they come out with is insane. And in here, we have also got... Oh! I got a Fairy Loot mug! I got a bag and a mug. Are you joking? I love that. I'm not going to use that mug. It's too nice to use. Maybe I'll use it on special occasions. Because I don't want to ruin it. So I got a mug. I have got a candle. I have got a candle. I don't know what it smells like, but it smells really nice. Oh, it literally tells me here. It smells like wild woods. That smells lovely. And it's based off the book The Lost War by Justin Lee Anderson. I want to know what that book's about. Well, I'm going to have a look when I finish this video. 12 hours burning! That's loads! Oh my goodness. That is so cool. Anyway, I'm going to have a little look at that book after this video. Because that smell and that cover. Can you see that cover? Can you see that? I want to know what that's about. The Lost War. I'm intrigued. So I'm going to be Googling that when I finish this video. I have got something. An exclusive 2024 sampler into Angry Robot Books. Oh, is this like a little peek into what's coming? Yeah. So this is a little peek into what's coming in the sci-fi fantasy genre from Angry Robot Books. That's a good way to give me a hint what's coming next year. Very, very useful for someone like me who wants to stay in the know. Love that. Then we have got, we got some more stuff. Oh, it just keeps coming. Oh, I've got some chocolate. Are you joking? I could have eaten that today. I've got some milk chocolate in here. Fairy Loot, you know the way to my heart. Give me that chocolate goods. I've got a pen. Always useful. Couple more bookmarks, which, again, you can never run out of bookmarks. I love theming my bookmarks, like the vibes of my book or the cover of my book. Does anyone else do that? What is this? That's sweet. I have got something that I don't actually know what the hell this is. Oh dear, I've just opened the lid. Oh my god, that's such a cool way of packaging a sweet. It's a sweet in a test tube. That's so cool. And it's advertising the book Bridge by Lauren Bukes, who is the author of The Shining Girls, which is out now in hardback. Take the dream worm. Who would you be in an alternate reality? So that's the dream worm. That's such a cool way of advertising it. Oh my god, I'm going to read that book. I want to know that. Alternate reality. Who would you be? You could be anyone. I'd be myself, but cooler. I don't know how I'd do it, but I'd be cooler. That's a book that I'm going to add to my TBR. I have got... Oh, that's a nice... Oh my god, I love this artwork postcard. How cool do they look? They look like knights. It's like King Arthur. Oh, that's so cool. What book is... And that's like Robin Hood. What is this? Oh, this is The Lost War. This is one the candle's based off. The Lost War starts out as a dark sword and sorcery fantasy quest. That sounds like the Magician's Guild. Sign me up. But becomes something much more powerful by the end. With this book, Justin Lee Anderson firmly establishes himself as a unique voice in the fantasy landscape. Winter is coming. Okay, well, I'm sold. I'm going to go research that book literally as soon as I finish this video because that sounds amazing. Last thing, which I say to last deliberately, it is an arc of the book To Cage a God. I don't know what it's about, so let's find out together. It says, can't read that. Using ancient secrets, Galena and Sierra's mother grafted gods into their bones. Questions. Hopefully the book answers. With their country on the brink of war, it falls to these sisters, raised as weapons, to take the helm of the rebellion and end the cruel reign of a royal family possessed by destructive gods. That sounds great. Not the kingdom, but the premise of the story. Carrying on. While Sierra reunites with her estranged lover, who now leads the rebellion, Galena must infiltrate the palace to expose the Empire's lies. In this world of deception and danger, her only refuge is an isolated princess whose whip-smart tongue and sharp gaze threaten to uncover Galena's secret. Oh my god, I'm so buzzed for that. When does this come out? February 2024. Such a cool arc. I'm so excited. What a lovely thing to include. And the last little thing is something I bought myself at Comic-Con because I saw it and I couldn't resist it. It is, oh, it's so cute. It's a little capybara pin of a capybara having a bath in a little lake with some flowers. And that was Comic-Con. It was so much fun. Honestly, this day feels completely surreal, and I cannot thank Book Break and Black Crow PR enough for giving me this insane opportunity. Like, what is this that I'm sat around? What happened today? Like, I actually did that. I was lucky enough to go today to Comic-Con, do these incredibly insane and exciting things, get all these lovely extra bits and bobs, just because I sometimes review my books on my Instagram and my blog. This doesn't feel real. I'm just me, and this happened. Thank you so much, Book Break, and so much Black Crow PR for this. I'm so grateful. It does feel like after 4 years of writing on my blog, it's almost like the hard work is finally starting to pay off and people are starting to read it. I am so grateful for every person who follows my Instagram, who reads my reviews, who reads my blog, who follows my blog, who watches these videos and subscribes to my channel. Any person ever who interacts with any of my content, I hate using the word content, but that's the only word I can think of. Anyone who ever interacts with my content, I'm so grateful. It reminds me of why I like sharing my writing and my thoughts and stuff. To make friends and to chat to people and to hopefully encourage people to pick up books and to get to do insanely cool opportunities like today. I will never not be grateful, and the novelty of this will never wear off. So thank you so much, Book Break. Thank you so much, Black Crow PR. And thank you so much to every single person watching this right now. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I will see you all again soon. Bye.